Nathan Cross sat in his glass-walled office on the 40th floor of the Crosstech Industries building, watching the Seattle skyline stretch endlessly before him. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across his mahogany desk, where 3 monitors displayed real-time data from his company's latest software launch. At 35, he had built his tech empire from a college dorm room idea into a billion-dollar corporation that revolutionized cloud computing for small businesses. Success had brought him everything money could buy, except peace from his well-meaning family. The sharp ring of his personal phone cut through his concentration. Emma Cross appeared on the caller ID, and Nathan felt the familiar mix of affection and apprehension that came with calls from his younger sister.
Hello, Sunshine, Nathan?
Answered, leaning back in his leather chair. Nathan Cross, you better not be thinking of showing up to my wedding alone next Saturday. Emma's voice carried that determined tone he knew all too well. I've spent months planning the perfect day, and I refuse to watch you hide in corners, avoiding conversation. Nathan closed his eyes, already sensing where this conversation was heading. Emma had been his closest ally growing up, but her upcoming marriage had transformed her into a relentless romantic, who seemed determined to find him a soulmate before her own 100th celebration. Emma, I've already confirmed my attendance. The gift is ordered, my speech is written, and I promise to smile for all the photos. Nathan replied, hoping to steer the conversation away from his perpetual single status. That's not enough, big brother. Mom has invited 3 lovely women specifically to meet you. There's Caroline Peterson from her book club, Jennifer Walsh from the country club, and Amanda Richardson, whose family owns those luxury hotels. Beautiful, accomplished, and very interested in meeting Seattle's most eligible bachelor. Nathan felt his stomach tighten. Charlotte Cross meant well, but her matchmaking attempts had become increasingly aggressive since his last relationship ended 2 years ago. The idea of spending Emma's wedding fending off arranged introductions made him want to disappear entirely. Emma, please tell me you can call off the romantic ambush. Your wedding should be about you and Oliver, not about finding your brother a wife. But it would make the day even more perfect if you found someone special. Plus, Oliver's best man is bringing his girlfriend, and all the other groomsmen have dates. You'll stick out like a sore thumb sitting alone at the head table. After Emma hung up with her usual cheerful threats about making his life miserable. If he didn't cooperate, Nathan stared out at the city lights beginning to twinkle in the early evening darkness. He needed a solution, and he needed it fast. A desperate idea. 3 days passed with Nathan's anxiety mounting. He had considered every option, from claiming sudden illness to hiring a professional escort, but both seemed either cowardly or inappropriate. For his sister's wedding? Then, during his Thursday morning run through Pike Place Market, inspiration struck in the most unexpected place. He remembered Sophia Bennett from the charity art auction. He had attended 2 months earlier. She worked as a curator at the Belltown Gallery and had been coordinating the evening's events with remarkable grace under pressure. When the main auctioneer had fallen ill at the last minute, Sophia had stepped in seamlessly, demonstrating not only extensive knowledge about each piece, but also a quick wit that kept the wealthy donors engaged and bidding generously. Nathan recalled being impressed by her intelligence and poise as she handled questions from collectors who clearly tried to test her expertise. She had worn a simple black dress that evening, her auburn hair pulled back in an elegant chignon. She carried herself with quiet confidence that commanded respect without demanding attention. Most importantly, Sophia seemed completely uninterested in the tech billionaires and venture capitalists who typically surrounded Nathan at such events. She had been polite when they were introduced, but focused entirely on her professional responsibilities. She appeared to live in a world far removed from Seattle's high society dating scene, which made her perfect for his current predicament. The proposition finding. Sophia's contact information proved easier than Nathan had expected. The Belltown Gallery's website listed her as the senior curator with her professional email prominently displayed. Nathan spent an entire morning crafting what he hoped would sound like a reasonable business proposition rather than the desperate scheme of a cornered bachelor. Friday afternoon found Nathan standing outside the Belltown Gallery, questioning his sanity. The gallery occupied the ground floor of a converted warehouse in one of Seattle's trendier neighborhoods. its large windows showcasing a collection of contemporary paintings that seemed to pulse with color and energy. Sophia emerged from the back office, carrying a stack of catalogs when Nathan entered. She looked up with a polite smile she probably reserved for potential customers, her green eyes brightening with recognition. "Mr. Cross, what a surprise. Are you interested in viewing our new exhibition?" Sophia asked, gesturing toward the vibrant canvases surrounding them. "Actually, Miss Bennett, I was hoping to discuss a different kind of opportunity with you, business arrangement that might benefit us both." Nathan felt his usual confidence desert him as he attempted to explain his situation without sounding completely ridiculous. Sophia set down the catalogs and studied him with curious attention. She wore dark jeans and a cream-colored sweater that made her look approachable yet professional, her hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. "I'm listening," she said simply. Nathan took a deep breath and launched into his explanation. He told her about Emma's wedding, his mother's matchmaking schemes, and his desperate need for a date who could help him navigate the evening without becoming entangled in his family's romantic ambitions. "So you're asking me to pretend to be your girlfriend for one evening," Sophia summarized when he finished, her expression unreadable. "Exactly. It would be purely professional. You would accompany me to the wedding, make polite conversation, pose for a few photos, and help me avoid my mother's matchmaking attempts. In return, I would pay you $5,000 for the evening." The decision. Sophia stared at Nathan for a long moment, clearly processing his unusual request. He found himself studying her face, noting the way her brow furrowed slightly when she was thinking deeply and how her green eyes seemed to shift between amber and emerald depending on the light. "Mr. Cross, this is certainly the most unusual job offer I've ever received," she said finally. "Can I ask what made you think of me for this particular role?" "I was impressed by your professionalism at the charity auction. You handled a difficult situation with grace and intelligence, and you seemed comfortable interacting with various types of people without being intimidated or overly impressed by wealth or status." Sophia walked over to one of the paintings, an abstract piece in shades of blue and silver that seemed to shift and flow like water. She stood silently for several minutes, and Nathan began to worry that he had seriously misjudged the situation. "Ms. Bennett, I understand if this seems inappropriate or if you're not interested. I probably should have approached this differently." She turned back to face him, and Nathan was surprised to see a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Actually, Mr. Cross, your timing is rather interesting. The gallery is facing some financial difficulties, and I've been trying to figure out how to cover the costs for a new exhibition we're planning. $5,000 would solve several immediate problems." Nathan felt a surge of hope mixed with relief. "However," Sophia continued, "I would need some assurances about the boundaries of this arrangement. I'm not comfortable with anything that goes beyond acting the part of your girlfriend for the evening. No physical intimacy beyond what might be expected in public, like holding hands or a brief kiss for appearances." "Absolutely," Nathan agreed quickly. "This is purely a business transaction to help us both solve immediate problems. One evening, purely professional, with clear boundaries." Sophia extended her hand to shake on their agreement. "In that case, Mr. Cross, you have yourself a fake girlfriend for the evening. When and where should we meet to discuss the details?" As Nathan shook her hand, he felt an unexpected jolt of electricity at the contact. For just a moment, he found himself wondering what it would be like if this arrangement were real. Sophia Bennett were actually interested in spending time with him beyond their business agreement. The preparation they arranged to meet Saturday afternoon so Nathan could brief Sophia on his family members and provide background information that would make their relationship seem authentic. Nathan suggested they meet at his penthouse apartment, thinking it would be more private than a public location, where they might be overheard discussing their deception. Saturday morning arrived with Nathan feeling more nervous than he had before. Any board meeting or investor presentation, he realized that the success of their plan depended entirely on Sophia's acting abilities in his own capacity to appear naturally romantic with a woman who was essentially a stranger. Nathan spent the morning cleaning his already immaculate apartment and preparing notes about his family members, their personalities, and the details Sophia would need to know to play her role convincingly. He found himself looking forward to Seeing her again, though he attributed his anticipation to relief at having solved his wedding dilemma rather than any personal interest. When Sophia arrived at his building that afternoon, Nathan was struck again by her natural elegance. She wore a simple navy dress that somehow managed to look both casual and sophisticated, and she carried herself with the same quiet confidence he had admired at the gallery. "Impressive view," Sophia commented as she entered his penthouse, walking toward the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked Elliott Bay. "Thank you. Can I offer you some coffee or tea while we go over the details for this evening?" As they sat in Nathan's living room reviewing the guest list and family dynamics, Nathan found himself genuinely enjoying their conversation. Sophia asked thoughtful questions about his relationship with Emma and seemed to understand intuitively how to navigate the complex family dynamics he described. "Your sister sounds wonderful, but your mother seems like she means well, even if her methods are a bit overwhelming," Sophia observed after Nathan had explained Charlotte Cross's matchmaking history. "That's exactly right. She genuinely wants me to be happy, but she has very specific ideas about what that happiness should look like." Their conversation flowed naturally from wedding preparations to broader topics, and Nathan discovered that Sophia had studied art history in graduate school before transitioning into gallery work. She spoke passionately about contemporary artists and had interesting insights about the relationship between creativity and commerce that Nathan found intellectually stimulating. As the afternoon progressed, Nathan realized that their evening together might be more enjoyable than he had initially expected. Sophia was intelligent, funny, and remarkably easy to talk to. For the first time since Emma's call, he actually looked forward to the wedding. The stage was set for an evening that would challenge both of their assumptions about what was real and what was merely performance. Saturday evening arrived with Nathan feeling surprisingly calm about their arrangement. He had spent the afternoon reviewing business emails and preparing for the following week's board meeting, successfully pushing thoughts of the evening ahead to the back of his mind. At exactly 6 o'clock, he drove his black Mercedes to Sophia's apartment in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. The building was a charming converted brownstone with ivy climbing the brick walls and window boxes filled with late-blooming flowers. Nathan had expected something modest based on Sophia's comments about the gallery's financial struggles. But her building had character and charm that impressed him more than the sterile luxury of his own penthouse. When Sophia opened her apartment door, Nathan felt his carefully maintained composure shatter completely. The woman standing before him bore little resemblance to the casually dressed gallery curator he had met that afternoon. Sophia had transformed herself into someone who could grace the cover of any fashion magazine. She wore an emerald green silk gown that flowed elegantly from a fitted bodice to a flowing skirt that brushed her ankles. The dress had delicate beading along the neckline that caught the light when she moved, and the color made her green eyes appear almost luminous. Her auburn hair had been styled in soft curls that cascaded over one shoulder, and her makeup was flawless, yet natural-looking. "Good evening, Nathan," Sophia said with a smile that seemed both confident and slightly nervous. "I hope this meets your expectations for the evening." Nathan stood speechless for several seconds, his mind struggling to process the stunning transformation. This was supposed to be a simple business arrangement, with a woman who would blend into the background and help him avoid unwanted attention. Instead, Sophia looked like she belonged on red carpets and magazine covers. "You look absolutely incredible," Nathan managed to say, his voice slightly rougher than usual. "Though I have to admit, you might attract more attention than we originally planned." Sophia laughed, a musical sound that made Nathan's heart skip unexpectedly. "I figured if I'm going to play the girlfriend of a billionaire CEO, I should probably dress the part. Don't worry, I can handle whatever attention comes our way." Arriving at the wedding venue was the historic Fairmont Olympic Hotel, where Emma had chosen the grand ballroom for her reception. As Nathan helped Sophia from the car, he noticed other guests arriving in their finest attire. But even among Seattle's social elite, Sophia commanded attention. Nathan placed his hand lightly on the small of Sophia's back as they entered the hotel, and he was surprised by how natural the gesture felt. The warmth of her skin through the silk fabric sent an unexpected jolt through his system, and he found himself wondering if she felt the same electric connection. "Remember, we've been dating for 3 months?" Nathan whispered as they approached. The reception line. We met at a gallery opening, and you were impressed by my extensive knowledge of contemporary art, which you learned from Wikipedia this afternoon, Sophia teased quietly. Making Nathan smile despite his nervousness, Emma spotted them immediately and rushed over with Oliver close behind. Nathan's sister looked radiant in her wedding gown, her face glowing with happiness and excitement. Nathan, you made it. And this must be the mysterious Sophia I've heard absolutely nothing about, Emma said, giving her brother a pointed look before turning to Sophia with genuine warmth. Emma, congratulations on your beautiful wedding. Nathan has told me so much about you, and I can see where he gets his charm. Sophia replied smoothly, embracing Emma with just the right amount of familiarity. Oliver shook Nathan's hand and kissed Sophia's cheek with the easy confidence of a successful architect who was comfortable in any social situation. Sophia, we're delighted to finally meet you. Nathan's been very secretive about his love life lately. Nathan felt a moment of panic, but Sophia handled the comment perfectly. Well, you know how private Nathan can be about personal matters? He wanted to make sure we were serious before introducing me to his family. Meeting the family Charlotte Cross descended upon them within minutes. Her silver hair perfectly styled, and her navy blue mother-of-a-bride dress elegant and appropriate. Nathan's mother had always been a formidable presence, combining genuine warmth with a steely determination that had made her successful in both charity work and social climbing. Nathan, darling, you look handsome as always, Charlotte said, kissing her son's cheek before turning expectant eyes toward Sophia. And you must be the young woman who has captured my son's heart. Mrs. Cross, it's such a pleasure to meet you. Nathan speaks of you constantly, and I can see where he gets his strong values and work ethic, Sophia said. Extending her hand with perfect poise, Charlotte seemed delighted by Sophia's respectful manner and genuine smile. Please call me Charlotte. I must hear all about how you two met. Nathan has been frustratingly vague about the details. Nathan felt sweat beginning to form on his forehead, but Sophia launched into their prepared story with convincing enthusiasm. She described attending a gallery opening where Nathan had surprised her with his knowledge of contemporary sculpture, leading to a conversation about art and business that lasted until the gallery closed. He asked me to dinner that very night, and I have to admit, I was impressed by his passion for supporting local artists, Sophia continued, placing her hand on Nathan's arm in a gesture that looked completely natural. Charlotte beamed with approval. How wonderful. Nathan has always appreciated beautiful things, and clearly he has excellent taste. Throughout the cocktail hour, Nathan watched in amazement as Sophia charmed everyone she met. She discussed wine with Emma's sommelier friend, debated the merits of different architectural styles with Oliver's colleagues, and even managed to engage Nathan's elderly Uncle Robert in a conversation about his vintage car collection. The reception begins as they were seated at the head table. Nathan realized their arrangement was working almost too well. Several family friends had commented on what a lovely couple they made, and his mother had already started dropping hints about family traditions and future grandchildren. You're incredible at this, Nathan whispered to Sophia as the first course was served. I think my mother is already planning our wedding. Just wait until she asks about my intentions regarding grandchildren. Sophia replied with a mischievous smile that made Nathan laugh despite his nervousness. During dinner, their conversation flowed as naturally as it had that afternoon in his apartment. Sophia asked thoughtful questions about Nathan's business, philosophy, and shared stories about working with artists and collectors. Nathan found himself genuinely interested in her perspectives on creativity and commerce, and he noticed that their fake relationship required surprisingly little acting. When Emma stood to give a toast, thanking everyone for sharing her special day, she specifically mentioned how happy she was to see Nathan with someone who clearly made him smile. Nathan felt a complicated mix of guilt about deceiving his sister and genuine appreciation for how perfectly Sophia was playing her role. After dinner, the band began playing soft jazz standards, and couples moved on to the dance floor. Nathan realized they would be expected to dance together, and the thought of holding Sophia close made his pulse quicken in a way that had nothing to do with their business arrangement. Shall we dance? Nathan asked, extending his hand formally. I thought you'd never ask, Sophia replied, taking his hand with a smile that seemed more genuine than practiced. On the dance floor, Nathan placed one hand on Sophia's waist and took her other hand in his. The silk of her dress was smooth under his palm, and he could smell her perfume. Something light and floral that seemed to suit her perfectly as they began moving to the music. Nathan was surprised by how well they fit together. Sophia followed his lead effortlessly, and their height difference was perfect for dancing. She felt warm and solid in his arms, and Nathan found himself pulling her slightly closer without conscious thought. "You're a wonderful dancer," Sophia said, looking up at him with those striking green eyes. "You make it easy," Nathan replied, and he meant it completely. For several minutes, they danced without speaking, and Nathan felt something shifting between them. What had started as a professional arrangement was beginning to feel dangerously real. He found himself studying Sophia's face, noting the way her lashes cast shadows on her cheeks and how her lips curved in a subtle smile. When the song ended, they remained standing close together for a moment longer than necessary. Nathan felt Sophia's hand tighten slightly on his shoulder, and he wondered if she was experiencing the same confusion about where their acting ended and genuine. Attraction began. Unexpected moments as the evening progressed, Nathan noticed small moments that felt completely authentic. When Sophia laughed at his jokes, her amusement seemed genuine rather than performed. When she touched his arm during conversation, her gestures appeared natural and unconscious. When she defended his character to a business rival who made snide comments about tech entrepreneurs, her loyalty felt real and protective. During the cake-cutting ceremony, Emma pulled Nathan aside while Sophia was chatting with Oliver's mother. "I like her, Nathan. Really like her. She's intelligent, gracious, and she obviously cares about you. The way she looks at you when you're not paying attention is absolutely sweet." Nathan felt his chest tighten with an emotion he couldn't quite identify. "What do you mean, the way?" "She looks at me like you're the most interesting person in the room. Like she's genuinely happy to be here with you. I've never seen you so relaxed with anyone before." Emma's observation stayed with Nathan for the rest of the evening. He began watching Sophia more carefully, trying to determine what was performance and what might be genuine interest. The problem was that her acting was so convincing, or perhaps his own feelings were becoming so complicated, that he could no longer tell the difference. The evening ends. As the reception wound down and guests began leaving, Nathan and Sophia made their rounds, saying goodbye to family members. Charlotte hugged Sophia warmly and extracted a promise that they would have lunch together soon to get better acquainted. "Drive safely, you two," Emma said, hugging them both goodbye. "Don't wait so long to bring Sophia around again. I want to get to know my future sister-in-law better." In the car driving back to Sophia's apartment, they were both quieter than they had been all evening. Nathan found himself reluctant for the evening to end. Though he couldn't exactly explain his feelings to himself, let alone to Sophia. "You were absolutely perfect tonight," Nathan said, as they stopped at a red light. "I can't thank you enough for helping me navigate that situation." "It was actually more fun than I expected," Sophia replied, though her voice sounded slightly uncertain. "Your family is wonderful, and you clearly mean a lot to them." When they reached Sophia's building, Nathan walked her to the door, unsure of how their evening should end. They had established that their arrangement was purely business. But after hours of acting like a couple, the transition back to professional distance felt awkward and forced. "Well, I guess this concludes our business arrangement," Sophia said, though she made no move to go inside. "I guess it does," Nathan agreed, though he found himself stepping closer rather than backing away. For a moment, they stood looking at each other in the soft light from the building's entrance. Nathan felt an almost overwhelming urge to kiss her, to see if the chemistry he had felt all evening was real or just a product of their successful acting. Instead, he took her hand and kissed it gently, a gesture that felt both chaste and intimate. "Thank you again, Sophia, for everything." "You're welcome, Nathan. I hope everything works out well with your family." As Nathan drove home, he found himself thinking not about how successfully they had deceived his family, but about how genuinely he had enjoyed spending time with Sophia Bennett. Their arrangement was complete. But Nathan realized he didn't want their story to end there. Sunday morning found Nathan standing in his penthouse kitchen, staring at an untouched cup of coffee. While his mind replayed every moment from the previous evening, he had barely slept, his thoughts consumed by images of Sophia's smile, at the sound of her laughter, and the way she had felt in his arms during their dance. The rational part of his mind insisted that what he was feeling was simply the result of a successful performance. Sophia was a skilled actress who had played her role perfectly, and he had gotten caught up in the fantasy they had created together. But the emotional part of his mind, the part that had been dormant for years, whispered that something real had happened between them. Nathan had built his fortune by trusting his instincts, and his instincts were telling him that Sophia Bennett was worth pursuing beyond their business arrangement. The question was whether she had felt the same connection, or if he had simply been fooled by her excellent acting abilities. Across town in her small but cozy apartment, Sophia was experiencing her own internal struggle. She sat curled in her favorite reading chair, with a cup of tea growing cold in her hands, staring out the window at the Seattle skyline without really seeing it. The evening had been far more complicated than she had anticipated. What should have been a simple acting job had turned into something that felt dangerously real. Nathan Cross was not the cold, calculating businessman she had expected. Instead, he had been charming, funny, and surprisingly vulnerable when talking about his family relationships. Sophia found herself remembering small moments from the evening that had nothing to do with their professional arrangement. The way Nathan had listened intently when she talked about her work at the gallery, asking thoughtful questions that showed genuine interest. How he had subtly protected her from his mother's more intrusive questions while still making her feel welcomed by his family. The electricity she had felt when they danced together, a connection that had seemed to surprise him as much as it had her. The unexpected phone call Monday morning brought Nathan back to the familiar rhythm of board meetings and strategic planning sessions, but he found his concentration scattered. During a presentation about quarterly revenue projections, his mind wandered to Sophia's insights about the relationship between art and commerce. While reviewing contracts for a new software development project, he thought about her passionate description of the gallery's upcoming exhibition by afternoon. Nathan had made a decision that would have seemed impossible just a week earlier. He was going to call Sophia and ask her out on a real date, not because he needed her professional services, but because he wanted to spend time with her as himself. Nathan waited until after business hours to call, hoping to catch Sophia when she might have time to talk. When she answered on the third ring, her voice sounded slightly breathless. "Hello, this is Sophia." "Hi, Sophia. It's Nathan." "Nathan Cross. I hope I'm not calling it a bad time." There was a brief pause, and Nathan could hear background noise that sounded like she was still at the gallery. "Nathan, hi." "No, it's fine. I'm just finishing up some paperwork here. How are you?" "How did your family react to our performance on Saturday?" Nathan smiled at her choice of words. "Actually, that's part of what I wanted to talk to you about. My mother has already called 3 times to tell me how much she likes you and Emma. Sent me a text this morning asking when she can expect to be a bridesmaid in our wedding." Sophia laughed, the sound carrying clearly through the phone and making Nathan's chest tighten with an emotion he was beginning to recognize as genuine affection. "Well, I'm glad we were convincing. Your family really is wonderful, Nathan. You're lucky to have people who care about you so much." "I am lucky," Nathan agreed. "I'm hoping I might be lucky enough to convince you to have dinner with me this week. Not as part of any business arrangement, but just because I'd like to spend more time with you." The silence on the other end of the line stretched long enough for Nathan to worry that he had misread the situation completely. When Sophia finally spoke, her voice was careful and uncertain. "Nathan, I'm not sure that's a good idea. We come from very different worlds, and I think Saturday night might have blurred some lines that should probably stay clear." "What if I want those lines to be blurred?" Nathan asked, surprising himself with his directness. "Sophia, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since Saturday night. Not about how well you played your role, but about how much I enjoyed talking to you, dancing with you, just being with you." Taking a risk, Sophia closed her eyes, leaning against her desk at the gallery while she processed Nathan's words. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately, to explore whatever connection had sparked between them at the wedding. But another part of her was terrified of getting involved with someone whose life was so far removed from her own reality. "Nathan, you don't really know me. Saturday night was a performance for both of us. You might think you're interested, but you're probably just responding to the fantasy we created. And let me get to know the real you," Nathan said quietly. "Let me take you somewhere that has nothing to do with weddings or family obligations, or business arrangements. It's just dinner and conversation between two people who might have something genuine to explore." Sophia looked around the gallery, taking in the paintings that surrounded her, and thinking about the financial pressures that had led her to accept Nathan's original proposition. Her life was complicated enough without adding a relationship with a billionaire CEO to the mix. But she couldn't deny that she had felt something real with Nathan, something that had nothing to do with the money he had paid her. "One dinner," she said finally. "Somewhere casual where we can just talk and see if there's anything real between us." Without all the pressure and performance, Nathan felt relief and excitement flood through him. "How about tomorrow night? I know a small Italian place in a neighborhood that makes incredible pasta and has tables where we can actually have a conversation. That sounds perfect. But Nathan, I need you to understand that I'm not looking for someone to rescue me or solve my financial problems. If we're going to explore this, it has to be as equals, not as a wealthy man and a struggling gallery curator." Nathan respected her directness and appreciated her honesty. "I understand completely. This is about you and me, nothing else." Real first date Tuesday evening. Nathan arrived at Sophia's apartment wearing jeans and a casual button-down shirt instead of his usual business attire. When Sophia opened the door, she was dressed simply in dark jeans and a soft blue sweater that made her eyes look even more striking than he remembered. "You look beautiful," Nathan said, and he meant it completely. Without the formal gown and elaborate styling from the wedding, Sophia looked more like herself, and Nathan found her natural beauty even more appealing. "Thank you. You look pretty good yourself in civilian clothes," Sophia replied with a smile that seemed more relaxed than he had seen from her before. The restaurant Nathan had chosen was a small family-owned place, with checked tablecloths and candles stuck in wine bottles. It was the kind of place where the conversation was more important than the atmosphere, and Nathan was pleased to see Sophia's shoulders relax as they were seated at a quiet corner table. "This is perfect," Sophia said, looking around appreciatively. "I was afraid you might take me somewhere with 5-star ratings and intimidating wine lists." "I save those places for impressing business clients," Nathan replied. "Tonight is about getting to know each other without any performance pressure." Over shared appetizers and glasses of reasonable Chianti, Nathan and Sophia began the real process of getting acquainted. Nathan told her about growing up as the responsible older brother, feeling pressure to succeed and protect his family after their father died when he was in college. Sophia shared stories about her childhood in Portland, her parents, who were both teachers, and her decision to pursue art history despite their practical concerns about her career prospects. "I always knew I wanted to work with artists and help people connect with creative work," Sophia explained. "The business side of the gallery is challenging, but when I see someone discover a piece that speaks to them, it makes all the financial stress worthwhile." Nathan found himself genuinely interested in Sophia's passion for her work. Asking questions about how she chose exhibitions and worked with artists to develop their careers, her enthusiasm was infectious, and Nathan began to understand why she had been so effective at the charity auction. "You really love what you do," Nathan observed. "I can hear it in your voice when you talk about the gallery." "I do love it, even when it's frustrating. What about you? Do you still love the technology side of your business? Or has success made it feel more like just managing an empire?" Nathan considered her question seriously. "I still get excited about solving problems and creating tools that help small businesses succeed, but you're right that the day-to-day management can feel removed from that original passion. Sometimes I miss the early days when it was just me and a few friends trying to build something useful." Growing closer as the evening progressed, Nathan and Sophia discovered they had more in common than their different backgrounds might suggest. Both were driven by a desire to create something meaningful, whether through technology or art. Both valued family relationships despite the complications they could bring, Both had sacrificed personal relationships for professional success and were beginning to question whether that sacrifice had been worthwhile. I haven't dated seriously in over 2 years, Nathan admitted as they shared dessert. Building the company consumed so much of my time and energy that I convinced myself I didn't have room for anything else. I understand that completely, Sophia replied. I've been so focused on keeping the gallery afloat and advancing my career that I've barely had time for friendships, let alone romance. Saturday night was the first time in months that I've felt like myself outside of work. Nathan reached across the table and took her hand, pleased when she didn't pull away. I'm glad we found each other, even if it happened in such an unconventional way. So am I, Sophia said softly, looking into Nathan's eyes with an expression that was completely different from the polite performance she had given at the wedding. When Nathan walked Sophia back to her apartment, neither of them wanted the evening to end. They stood outside her building talking for another hour, discovering more shared interests and laughing about stories from their respective careers. I'd like to see you again, Nathan said as they finally prepared to say goodbye. Soon and often, if you're interested. I'm very interested, Sophia replied, standing on her tiptoes to kiss his cheek softly. But let's take this slowly and see where it leads naturally. Challenges and growth over the following weeks, Nathan and Sophia began building a real relationship. Nathan introduced Sophia to his favorite hiking trails in the Cascade Mountains, while Sophia took him to gallery openings and art fairs where he began developing a genuine appreciation for contemporary sculpture. Their different social circles created some awkward moments. Nathan's business partner, James Morrison, met Sophia at a dinner party. He made comments about Nathan slumming it with someone outside their usual social set. Sophia handled the rudeness with grace, but Nathan was furious and made it clear that disrespecting Sophia was unacceptable. Similarly, when Sophia introduced Nathan to her friend Grace Winters, the wedding planner who had helped coordinate Emma's reception, Grace was initially suspicious of Nathan's motivations. She worried that Sophia was setting herself up to be hurt by someone who lived in a completely different world. Just be careful, Grace, warned Sophia over coffee. Men like Nathan Cross don't usually have serious relationships with women like us. Make sure you're not just a temporary distraction. Sophia appreciated her friend's concern but felt confident that Nathan's interest was genuine. He had made efforts to understand her world, visiting the gallery multiple times, and even purchasing a piece from an emerging artist Sophia was championing. More importantly, he treated her as an equal partner in their relationship, asking for her opinions and respecting her independence. 2 months into their relationship, Sophia faced a crisis that threatened to destroy everything she had worked to build. The gallery's primary investor suddenly withdrew funding, leaving Sophia scrambling to find alternative financing to keep the space open and maintain her exhibition schedule, Nathan learned about the situation when he arrived at Sophia's apartment for their planned dinner date and found her surrounded by financial documents, her eyes red from crying and stress. Sophia, what's wrong? Nathan asked, immediately sitting beside her. And pulling her into his arms through tears, Sophia explained the situation. The gallery owed 3 months of back rent, had commitments to artists for upcoming shows, and faced closure within weeks unless she could find significant funding. How much do you need? Nathan asked without hesitation. Sophia pulled back too. Look at him, shaking her head firmly. Nathan, no. I can't let you solve this with money. It's not what our relationship is about. But I can help, Nathan insisted. This is what you care about most in the world. Let me support your dreams. If you just write a check to save the gallery, then I'll never know if I succeeded on my own merits or because my boyfriend is rich enough to make problems disappear. I need to find another way. Nathan realized that pushing Sophia to accept his financial help might destroy the trust they had built. Instead, he offered something more valuable, his business expertise and connections, the solution working together. Nathan and Sophia developed a plan to save the gallery that utilized Nathan's network while preserving Sophia's independence. Nathan introduced Sophia to several tech entrepreneurs who were interested in supporting the arts, and he helped her create a business plan that demonstrated the gallery's potential for both cultural impact and financial sustainability. Sophia, organized a major fundraising event. It's featuring works by the gallery's most promising artists and attended by Seattle's technology and arts communities. Nathan used his influence to encourage attendance, but let Sophia take full credit for the event's success. The fundraiser exceeded Sophia's most optimistic projections, raising enough money to secure the gallery's future and fund 2 years of innovative programming. More importantly, Sophia had proven to herself that she could overcome major challenges through her own skills and determination. "I'm so proud of you, Nathan," told Sophia as they celebrated after the successful event. "You saved the gallery by believing in yourself and working harder than anyone should have to work." "I couldn't have done it without your support," Sophia replied. "It's not your money, but your belief in me and your willingness to help without taking control." Nathan realized that supporting Sophia's success had been more fulfilling than any of us. His own business achievements, watching her confidence grow and her dreams become reality, had taught him what partnership could really mean. The real proposal 6 months after Emma's wedding, Nathan took Sophia back to the hiking trail where they had shared their first real conversation outside the city. As they reached a clearing with a panoramic view of Mount Rainier, Nathan dropped to one knee and pulled out a ring box. "Sophia Bennett, 6 months ago I hired you to pretend to be my girlfriend for one night. It was supposed to be a simple business transaction that would solve a family problem and then be forgotten." Sophia's eyes filled with tears as she realized what was happening. "Instead, that night changed my entire life. You showed me what it feels like to be with someone who sees the real me, who challenges me to be better, and who makes me want to build a future that's about more than just business success." Nathan opened the ring box to reveal a simple but elegant solitaire diamond that caught the afternoon sunlight. "I love your intelligence, your passion, your independence, and your strength. I love the way you laugh at my jokes and call me out when I'm being arrogant. I love that you make me want to be the kind of man who deserves someone as amazing as you." Sophia was crying openly now, her hands covering her mouth as Nathan continued. "Will you marry me, Sophia? Not because I'm hiring you or because our families expect it, but because I can't imagine spending my life with anyone else." "Yes," Sophia whispered. Then louder, "Yes, Nathan Cross, I will marry you," as Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger, and they kissed surrounded by the beauty of the Washington wilderness. Both of them marveled at how something that had started as pretense had become the most real and meaningful relationship of their lives. The happy ending 1 year later, Nathan and Sophia were married in the same ballroom where they had first danced together as a fake couple. Emma served as Sophia's matron of honor. Charlotte Cross cried happy tears throughout the entire ceremony. The gallery thrived under Sophia's leadership, becoming one of Seattle's most respected spaces for contemporary art. Nathan joined the board of directors but maintained his promise to support rather than control Sophia's vision at their wedding reception. As they danced to the same song that had played during their first dance at Emma's wedding, Nathan whispered in Sophia's ear, "Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if I hadn't been desperate enough to propose that crazy arrangement?" Sophia smiled up at her new husband, her green eyes sparkling with happiness and mischief. "I think we were meant to find each other one way or another. Some stories are just too good not to happen." As they swayed together, surrounded by family and friends who had witnessed their journey from pretense to reality, Nathan knew that Sophia was right. Their love story had begun with deception but had grown into something more honest and beautiful than either of them had ever imagined possible.